You know what happens when you hit summer?
You get closer to winter.
Winter's closer.
I'm still advocating to enjoy summer.
You can advocate all you want.
Beach.
Sure, we're going to the beach.
I know we are. Very excited
The
about
beach. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Matt Fiona Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We're incredibly happy that you're here. As always, before we jump into today's episode, I want to remind you to go like, share, subscribe, all of those things on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitters, wherever else we are. I don't know.
Spotify, Apple.
Yeah,
Podcast.
we are on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Look at you go.
I know,
you should
right?
do these intros
I pay
for more.
attention when you do these.
I need a blurb.
It's okay.
Today, I have a blurb for my other show, so I just read it every time. It's perfect. Today, we are going to jump in on a wonderful topic called Count on Me.
Yes.
Not Stand By Me, but Count on Me.
Count on me.
Okay?
Yes.
All right. Where are we going to go with this?
Okay. So, and again, this, we actually had a conversation semi-related to this earlier today.
Yeah, we did.
But it stemmed from something I guess I was dealing with.
It's something that we always deal with.
We always deal with, but
Right.
it stemmed from something I was dealing with recently. It's what led me to this. Anyway, sometimes life can get a little crazy. I don't know if that happens with you, but it happens with me. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed. I know, shocker. You would never know it.
I said nothing.
Yes. But you know, I felt like I had a lot on my plate. We'll just go with that. There was a lot going on. I had a lot to do at church. There were some things that had happened that I wasn't necessarily expecting to have to do. And as I was thinking about it, because you know, you've got different kinds of reactions when it comes to that. You can get frustrated, you can get annoyed, you can get exhausted, you can get worn down, and you can let some of your feelings get the best of you.
Right.
And as I was going through it, I was thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? It's all about how I view it and how I manage it and how I deal with it. And I started looking at it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this because I want Jesus to know he can count on me. If something needs to get done, I am not doing it for other people. I'm not even doing it for myself because some of the stuff I didn't want to do.
Correct.
I'm not doing it, you know, to please people or whatnot. But what came to me, I was like, okay, I'm doing it for Jesus. Everything that we do for church, we do for Jesus.
Right.
And what I realized through this momentary difficulty was I realized that I'm okay stepping up and doing a couple of extra things because when push comes to shove, I want Jesus to be able to count on me. And I think that's kind of where this stemmed from. Can he count on me? And it goes so much further than that. Not only in that situation, in that moment in time when I was feeling overwhelmed, can he count on me?
Right.
But can he count on me to show up to church when the doors are open? Because it's not for people, it's for Jesus. Can Jesus count on me to talk to him every day, to hear from me every day? Can he count on me? Can he count on me when the church has a need to be able to be someone to fulfill it? Can Jesus count on me? Because if Jesus is the head and we are the body, we work together, right? Can Jesus count on me to fulfill my calling, plan, and purpose? Can Jesus count on me to heed to his voice and follow his commands? Can Jesus count on me to turn my mind to his word instead of the circumstance?
Yeah.
And it just was something from that moment of, honestly, I was having a lot of inner conflict in feeling slightly overwhelmed and recognizing that my feelings really aren't warranted.
Right.
But recognizing that I want to be somebody that Jesus can count on. I want him to know me by name. I want him to know me by action. I want him to know me by attitude, I want him to know me by commitment. And in all the things that come my way, via church, via personal life, via our marriage, via our children, can Jesus count on me to live for him? Can Jesus count on me to go to him?
Yeah.
Can he count on me? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that count on me kind of stemmed from.
Right. You know, we see it a lot especially in the local church, right? And especially in the smaller local churches.
Right.
Where so many people serve, but they kind of lose focus on what they're serving.
Right.
And who they're serving.
That's right.
Right. So it very quickly becomes a lackadaisical approach.
Right.
Because you're serving under, your friend who's in charge of praise and worship, or who's in charge of, the greeters or the friendship team or
the hospitality team.
Yeah, whatever department that you serve in, right? Even to take it back a step further than that, you attend church a lot of times. You hear this, that, you kind of get that feeling that they're attending because they don't want to disappoint the pastor.
Right.
Right. So it becomes hey, I'm not going to make service. And I'm sorry to let you down, pastor.
Right.
And while you might be letting your pastor down, more importantly, you're letting God down.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Anytime you don't do those basic tenets of Christianity, and again, we all stumble. I get it.
Absolutely.
I'm not picking on anyone, but it's so easy to equate that to just the man or the person you're following or you're under or the local church you attend. It becomes one of those things where you kind of lose sight of the fact that all of those decisions you make in life are something that you have to account for to God.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when it comes down to, did I witness enough?
Right.
Did I do all these things? We were dealing with a situation this week at church where we've got some equipment that is failing, right? And we had some service techs in, and I was kind of managing them and babysitting them, for lack of a better term,
right?
To help them answer the questions, all this other stuff. And when they leave, I do that whole, I don't want to be overbearing,
right?
Right. But at the same time, was I witnessing enough to them?
Right.
Right. At the same time, I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
We're coming in to work at the church and they're going to try and get us saved again.
Right.
But can I, impart enough of God's love and just show them something?
Well, and I think also, that's where the leading of the Holy Spirit comes into place, right?
Yeah. But recognizing that if I could have done more,
right?
I'm not letting down pastor per se.
Right.
I'm letting down God.
Yep.
Can God count on me to, when he speaks to me,
yeah,
or shows me something or prompts me to do something, can I do it?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Pastor and I were talking today about some stuff at church when we were recording. And, we were kind of talking on this topic a little bit of, as we're going through stuff and as times are getting late, right?
Right.
It is one of those things where we need to be able to count on more people in the church.
Yes.
Not less.
Not less.
Right? And that's not a numbers thing from an attendance standpoint per se. It's what is your commitment in the last days? Can God count on you?
Right.
Right? If you're still showing up thinking that all you got to do is show up to church and sit in a pew and not fall asleep during Sunday morning service.
Right.
Can God count on you if that's where you're at? And everyone's at someplace different, right? I recognize
Absolutely.
that. And
Absolutely.
I fully respect that.
Yep.
That, there's a path.
Yep.
Right? You got to walk out your Christian faith.
Well,
you have to evolve.
It's what Pastor says, you take that first step.
Yeah.
Are you remaining on that first step? Or are you working your faith? Are you working, building your relationship so that you could step up to step 2?
Yeah.
And then once you get to step 2, get yourself up to step 3, right? You are not, it is not just I accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior.
Done.
Did my job. I'm good, right? You know, it's you took that first step, but you've got to then take your second step and your third step and your fourth step. And it is like there's an order to it and it takes time, but don't just take the first step and.
But you've now been around here a long time, right?
Yeah. 18
like
years
you've been
next
here
month.
18 years. We've got, over the, essentially my entire life growing up in church, I've watched a variety of people
Right.
who, they've never progressed.
Right.
They've been stagnant in one spot, or maybe they took a couple baby steps, a couple toddler steps,
Right.
and that was it.
Right.
Whether they kept attending, whether they left, whether they moved on, is kind of inconsequential. A lot of, I've seen quite a few people who they've just never progressed.
Right.
Right. And again, I think when you look at yourself, when you look at your life, when you look at your walk, if God can count on you, you're going to progress in your relationship with Him.
That is very much, that is a heart.
It's a heart thing.
Condition.
Take it back to our marriage, right? If all we did was get to that like second date level, right? The one where we're not just casually going out and having coffee.
Right.
And getting to know each other.
Right.
And having really superficial conversations.
Right.
If we got to the second date level, where maybe we're going to dinner.
Right.
Right. And we're going to have like some actual conversations beyond, so what's your favorite color?
Right.
Which I don't think we had that conversation. But if we did.
I don't think we had the typical dating.
If you're dating, that's a great first question. What's your favorite color? But if that's where our relationship peaked.
Right.
That's
there's
fine.
There's no substance.
That's fine if it's 3 dates.
Yes.
Right? 5 dates.
But it does not sustain.
But if you're going to get married.
Yes.
And then have some kids. But you're never going to get past the conversation depth of a second date.
Right.
That's going to be a really weird marriage. Right? It's going to be a really weird relationship.
Yep.
I look at where we are, because we're coming up on our anniversary.
Yep.
And our relationship is completely different than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
It's going to make an assumption here that it is deeper and stronger.
I would agree.
And more valued.
I would agree. Absolutely.
But that's because, again, our relationship didn't stop after 10 years of marriage.
Yes.
Right?
And, we continue to challenge each other. We continue to put each other in our place.
Deeper in love with each other. See where I took it and where you took it? Interesting.
We are talking anyway. But yes,
it is.
I always say I love you more now than I did before, and that's great.
There's more of me to love. Look at that.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, off topic. No, but it's a continual journey, and we have to continually work at it and build and strengthen and grow and make sure that the strength is there, right? Because if we stop putting the effort in, we will drift apart without even realizing it. Now, I wanted to just come back to the can he count on us? Something that you had said earlier is, I know a lot of people, and I understand that it's a hard balance, but I know a lot of people view anything that they do at church as almost like a volunteer basis.
Right.
And, it makes me feel good to do it. I'm doing something for the church. And hey, that's awesome. If you want to do something somewhere, working for the church is a great place, but check your heart condition, because why are you doing it? What is your reasoning for doing it?
Yeah.
Right? And is it something that Jesus can count on you for? Because if you are a greeter or a children's church worker or whatnot, Have you made a commitment to follow through and carry through with that? Or is it your volunteer for now, and when you're tired of it, you'll move on? Or are you doing it because it makes you feel good? Or are you doing it because you love Jesus with all your heart and you want to be able to serve him, work in his ministry, and be able to fulfill what he created you for? And that is where, as I had said earlier, that heart condition really comes into play.
Yeah.
And it is not always easy because, like I said at the beginning, I was having a hard day. And I was really struggling. And it was one of those, my flesh inside wanted to be like, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to be somebody that can be counted on.
Right.
I don't want to be the person that gets called all the time something needs to be done. And I just want to go sit on the couch, play with my kids, and not worry about anything. And that is when I just was like, that's a problem, right? And if I was not careful and cautious about my mental spin-off at the moment, that could have not been good. And that's when I just kind of refocused. And honestly, I was like, Jesus, I need help. And sometimes it's as simple as that when I'm having a hard time, and I will literally say, Jesus, I need help. That's when I realized, and the Lord was like, you know what? You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for me.
Yep.
And can I count on you?
You know, I'm glad you brought that aspect up, right? Because it is a heart condition.
Yes.
And I've been serving in the church for 30, 35 years, something like that. I've been in charge of our helps department for, the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. And I always find it interesting because you don't see in a lot of situations where people just renege on their responsibilities or just kind of like wave them off.
Right.
So let me set the stage for a second. In my work life, I've done a fair amount of work for a bunch of quick serve restaurants. Right. We do a lot of tech work for them. When you work in those environments, you hear a lot of really interesting conversations.
I'm sure you do.
And one of the things that came up, not every time, but at least 50% of the time, I would be in one of those restaurants. Somebody would be not wanting to take a shift that they were scheduled for.
Oh,
okay.
Right.
Typically, and again, we're going to paint this with broad strokes for a second, but typically, if an employee didn't want to work on a Friday, right, because they had a hot date or whatever,
Right.
they would find someone to cover their shift.
Right.
They would not call the manager or worse, the owner and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to make Friday because I got this thing going on and blah, 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 sad sack story. So I just won't be there.
Right.
Right? Did that happen? Of course.
Right.
But was it the norm? No.
Right.
You found somebody to cover your shift.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to do something else.
Right. You had a responsibility and you took the responsibility to cover your responsibility.
If I go ask my local, Tim Hortons manager who I know, if I go ask Gerald and be like, hey, how often do people switch shifts internally?
Oh.
Without having to come to you and say, hey, can you find someone to cover my shift?
Right.
I might ask him because it'll be interesting.
Right. That would be.
I'll follow up with this once I get the answer. But unless it doesn't go with my point, and then I will not tell you. And that's the rule. But in church, most of the time, if someone's not able to make a service, right, where they're scheduled to work,
right,
they typically don't find someone else on the team to cover that for them.
Right.
They'll come to whoever their department head is, or to me, or to pastor, and be like, oh, I won't be here on, Sunday the 14th. And that's where it ends.
Right.
It's not even but I was supposed to work in kids' church, and can you cover for me? Or I was supposed to, run slides. Can you cover for me? Or I was supposed to play bass guitar. Can you get the other basses to cover?
Right.
Right. We even have software in church where you can check into your assigned position for praise and worship or for whatever task it is. There's no swap option. There's a accept, decline. That's it.
Right.
right? It's such a volunteer mentality most of the time where you abdicate all of your responsibility.
Right.
You just say, well, I'm here. I'm a volunteer. Take me as I am.
You should be very glad that
you should be honored.
Yes.
That I am
fulfilling this position.
Allowing you to make use of me for a moment.
Let me tell you, it's not about you. It's not about me. It is about
me. I mean, no, sorry, not me.
Not you.
No, sorry. It's about him.
Yes. And I think that's what we need to kind of shift our thinking about if we're not already there. Some of us may be, and you want to know what? Totally understand. Life can get in the way. I do get that. But we need to recognize that what we do, when we do it for Jesus, we do it differently. Right.
And you've just got to get in that mindset of when you're thinking and trying to make decisions of what you're doing that day, how you're serving, how you're attending church, all of these things. Is God pleased with the way you're doing it? Can he count on you to do the things that he needs you to do? Right? And I think if we kind of take that 40,000 foot view of our lives and go, are the decisions I make daily, are they pleasing to him?
Right.
Right? They won't all be. Mine aren't.
No.
Like I'd like to say that they're more pleasing to him than not.
And that they get better every day. But yeah, we definitely screw up.
You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But if you can keep that kind of front of mind, top of your head.
Yes.
Of, man, can God count on me today to do what he needs me to do?
Yeah.
Right? I think if we can take that approach, if we can wake up every morning thinking that way.
Right.
Not what can God do for me.
Right.
But am I ready and able and willing to be there for him so that he can count on me?
Yep.
So if he speaks to me to go talk to someone, if he speaks to me to give something to someone, right? Be sensitive, listen to his voice, hear him talking to you.
Yeah, follow his leading.
Recognize that, hey, man, I just want God to be able to count on me. I want him to look at me and go, well done, good and faithful servant, which he won't do if he can't count on you.
That's true. And also if there's been a consistency of him not being able to count on you, he's going to ask less and less of you.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to be in that position where I'm asked to do less because Jesus Christ himself cannot count on me.
Well, even the parable of the talents, right? It's that same principle, right? The one he gave a lot to, who turned it into a lot.
Right.
Right? Who multiplied it. God counted on him and said, if you're faithful in little, I'll make you faithful in much. Right? These are really foundational, basic principles. And it's amazing how often we come across situations. Again, most of these are just in our own life.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not picking on anyone today yet. But, like, this is basic stuff.
Yeah.
You should want God to be able to count on you. And if you're not making choices that allow you to see and show him that he can count on you, you might want to revisit those choices.
Yeah. Again, search your heart and
This was mostly encouraging. I did so well.
It is encouraging. I would agree. Search your heart. And in all you do, can Jesus count on you?
Yep.
Because as we had just said, we want him to be able to count on us. And so again, just be encouraged by this, just to take a double look and be like, oh man, can he count on me? How can he? And where are you struggling with it? Because there's always room to improve for all of us, myself included. Again, this stemmed from my own personal difficulties of a day.
Yep.
But be encouraged. Can Jesus count on you? And search your heart to shift and change and grow. And the closer you get to him, the more you're going to want to do for him. And your heart condition will soften towards him.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. As always, like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. You'll find information on that below. But again, we are looking forward to seeing you next week on another episode of the Matt and Fiona Show. Thanks for coming.
Bye now.